Let us start. Although we're a couple minutes late, let us get started because I know people have schedules. I don't have to introduce myself. Mary Hunt here at Water. Thrilled beyond belief. Is the recording on, by the way? We're recording. Just thrilled beyond belief that you're all here. Just seeing each and every one of you warms my heart beyond anything I can describe. And I have a very vivid vocabulary, so that's a lot. Diane New had hoped to be here. Unfortunately, as you know, she had her hip replaced soon. She's making progress, but she had a doctor's appointment exactly at this hour. She's at Kaiser, and she couldn't change the appointment without waiting for at least another month. And I said, Diane, I'm sure people will forgive you for that, but it's a good choice to get that appointment in today. So Diane sends her love and best wishes. And I want to just talk a little bit as I welcome each and every one of you. I'm just so thrilled. And Min is here. Our daughter Min is in the office. She's been helping out. A classmate actually of Brooke Andrews from the Academy of the Holy Cross. But I want to just say how happy I am to see you, how happy I am to know you, how thrilled your lives make me in terms of what we're doing here. Each and every one of you doing something. I mean, M. Kaiser, great to have you. I mean, just each and every one of you. Sophie Cantor, great to lay eyes upon you. And we'll have an opportunity to say who we are. I want to begin by saying what we have in common, which is that we all worked at Water at some point, and I only wish we could all be in the same room. I am here joined by Magdalena and Wed, who are our current Water interns. They come from Germany, from the Irene program, a peace program, and they're part of the Brethren Voluntary Service Program. So kind of following that tradition of the Mennonites and so on. And they are as good as any interns we've ever had, and just marvelous people doing great work. So that's great. Also in the office, looking quite unlike Diane New, is Cindy Lapp, who's an early intern and staff person, longtime staff person here, especially with her children. So that's who's in the office. And I only wish you were all here too. It happens to be Royco's day to give out ice cream. That is the landlord's ice cream party. So we've all been up to yes, Brooke, it's not the breakfast, it's the ice cream party. So we've all been up to the ice cream party. Um, I want to say I always thought I thought at the beginning of Water, which is now more than 40 years ago, that theology was the most important part of what we do. I was absolutely persuaded of that. And then I got smart and I realized it wasn't, it was ethics. And then I got a little smarter and I realized that I was wrong and that the important thing was liturgy and ritual, which is so meaningful to so many people. It's where most people meet religion. And then I really, sat down and said, wait the heck, I'm asking the wrong question here. I was wrong on every count. The important thing is the alliance. And that's you. And I think of you as people who've worked at Water as being sort of the first ring of both concentric and intersecting circles all at the same time. You're concentric in the sense that many of you were not here at the same time as others, but you all have had some intersection here in the Water office and have been part of things and continue to be part of things. And your lives continue to inspire us and say, yeah, the people who work here, this is what they do. They're artists, they're activists, they're ministers, they're so many things. So I know some of you, I mean, I know all of you. Some of you know some of you, whether from your time at the office or by lore. We always tell stories of the Water office. We even have cautionary tales that we tell, the cautionary tales of people. And everyone has in common heard my annual lecture on please take an Uber or a Lyft if you have any sense of danger. That's one of my leave the receipt on my desk. I really don't want to care. I don't really care. We don't want to know the state you were in or who you were with. Just be safe. That's all. So that's the only annual lecture. That's the annual Water lecture. But today, what I'd like to do is to talk about what impact Water has had on you and your careers, and then insights that you can give us about how Water can best contribute to this very conflicted world. And I want to start by stating the obvious that Water is 41 years old and Diane and I are still here. And needless to say, we are beginning to think about what's next for us, and more important, what's next for Water. What would be a next good step for Water? And we literally have no plans, either for ourselves or for Water. We have nothing up our sleeves. Water started because we thought it was sort of a bit of an idea. We didn't have work, so we created it. and you know the rest. So at this point, we're in the same position that we want water to be what it needs to be or not to respond to the needs of the world. And so we're beginning to talk with people about what the world needs that water or whatever evolves from it can offer. So we start with you. We've had more than 100 interns and staff people, and I want to begin the conversation to imagine together what does the world need? Not that what does water need, what American, we're fine, everything's fine. But what does the world need that we in these circles might collaboratively provide? And it doesn't mean we have to do it, but what do we want to do? What needs to happen? What are the needs of the world to which we bring a unique contribution, each and every one of us? So our method for today is that everybody gets a chance to make a brief introduction. Then we'll talk briefly in small groups, and then we'll reconvene to hear some of the insights. And we sent you the questions ahead of time. When were you at Water? What left the deepest impression on you? And how have you lived out similar values and experiences since then? So I would say if I were answering the question, and I'm going to be brief, be witty, and be seated, as I always counsel, that I would say I came here when it started. I, kind of got the ball rolling, 1983-ish. And the deepest impression that I have had is how much the world has changed and how our commitments at Water have been and continue to be, and I hope will be, an important part of what's the good. And we're seeing a lot today, especially in Washington, of what is not the good. We are in a crisis in this country of no small proportion. And then I would say, where have I lived out similar experiences and values since then? Well, most of them have been here for me. So I'll leave it at that. But the floor is open. If you don't want to talk, you don't have to talk. If you want to talk, we want you to talk. So please start, whoever wants to, and then after we've had an opportunity to hear from everybody on that, the questions are in the chat. See how good the interns have. I mean, I tell you, the interns and the Germans, this is second language. I mean, some of us in English would do well to, be anywhere near. So we're just delighted to have Magdalene and Wed with us, as we were delighted with each and every one of you. So it's just that part continues. So the questions are, if you look in the chat, when were you at Water? What left the deepest impression? And where have you had similar experiences and values since then? And Tashika Rhodes is going to put that hand right up, and she's first. So, and I'm just going to tell you, this is a group of doers. So we do want to hear from each and every one. And again, my deepest, warmest thanks. Tashika.
Yes, hello everyone. Once again, my name is Tashika Rhodes, and I was at the Water Office from 2019 to 2020. I came by way of Wesley Theological Seminary in their Practice of Ministry and Mission program. And I would say for me, one of the greatest things that I left with was the sense of collaboration that Water constantly cultivates in literally everything that they do, from creating the book blurbs and joining for a program collaboration. And so that's something that really stuck with me. And I would say that first and foremost, I had the privilege to live out those values by coming back to Water in person at times and collaborating with Diane and interns. And so that was really great. And then I would also say that I've had the privilege to use that collaboration and values both at Wesley as a teaching assistant for 2 years. And then I was able to matriculate to the Howard University School of Divinity. And I was able to collaborate and have that sense of respect and compassion with my fellow staff members, as I was the admissions recruit and retention coordinator. And so I really, really enjoyed doing that. Thank
And you
you.
do it so well, Tashika. We're so proud
Thank
of
you.
you. We're proud to know you. And you're now in a doctoral program.
Correct. Yes, I'm in my second doctoral program at Regent University, admissions and leadership in higher education.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tashika.
Thank you.
Monica Maher, next.
Hi everyone. It's great to be here. Thank you, Mary and Olive Water for organizing this. So I guess it was 1983, right, Mary? I mean,
Yeah.
where I came from was off the streets. I mean, I saw an announcement for water on it was a refrigerator at the Quixote Center. And when I read the words, I was like, that's what I want to do. And I was what, 23? So, it put words to intuitions, I felt like, as Yvonne Gabar would say, and as she does, putting words and articulating the vision. Um, so I just showed up and what made the biggest impression on me was that you and Diane just started this, just followed your vision, followed your passion, and just dared to do something new. And that has stayed with me all these years and put theology, ethics, and ritual into practice. So I see you all and I experience like having 1 foot in the academy and like 2 feet in the world, 2 feet in like the communities that are intersecting, concentric and intersecting. Um, and how have I lived it out? I mean, it's been a lot of time, 40 years, um, 41 years or no, longer. But I mean, I got my MDiv, got my PhD, and Mary, you wrote me recommendation letters and were always super present, super encouraging. And I think most recently here in Ecuador, where I live, I've started my own foundation, and I mean, the forces of religious fundamentalisms are so great; they're just like so intense, and so it seems impossible to do something else. But we have become like a community of progressive religious voices here, um, and in this time of backlash, I mean, going to continue to be that. And I think now more than ever, we need the alliance. I mean, we have the regional alliance of Latin America, but we really need the global alliance as well. So I can see that as part of what water can contribute into the future. So thanks for being present throughout my life, really. Thank you, my adult life.
Thanks, Monica. Just lest it sound too grandiose. I mean, Diane and I started Water because we were all dressed up with no place to go. We were out lesbians who were pro-choice, who were Catholic. And there was literally nobody's going to hire us. We were anathema. And so we started this because we had to do something. Or it could have been a restaurant. I like to cook, as many of you know. It could have been a restaurant. But yeah. Katie's A, go ahead. And you're doing it fast, folks, so that we can get everybody in.
Yes, I was at Water with Sophie in the summer of 2006. It was the summer after my first year at Yale Divinity School. And what left the deepest impression on me was really the community that we formed together. And that's really what I think and feel, even with those of you I don't know, is just the water community or the alliance, but the relationships that we built. And I think I have really tried in my leadership, I'm now the CEO of the Religious Community for Reproductive Choice, to remember how important it is to live out the external values internally in the way that I interact with my team and my consultants and staff, because I think Mary and Diane did such a good job of really living into their feminist values in the way they led. And I've never seen it since. So I'm thankful for the one model I had so that I can try to model that in my own leadership. And I think that's what the world needs. It needs leadership that looks different, that is heart-based, that balances masculine and feminine ways, and energies in the way that we do the work. And so that's what I would love to talk more about. But thank you for bringing us together, and I look forward to hearing from everybody else.
Thanks, Katie, and thanks for your great work on reproductive justice. It's really so important. And the flip side of what you said is something I've observed over a long period of time, and that is that people do learn from the people that they work with, and sometimes they learn the wrong things. And I remember one instance, and I think you were involved, and there was a person alleged feminist who asked someone to carry her purse for her. And that was always my counterexample to what it means to be at Water, that um, there are no divas around here, trust me. Jackie Small, speaking of no divas, from Erie
Yes.
Benedictines. Yeah.
Yeah. I was at Water in the summer of 2014, which was my first year of seminary. And it was a complete fluke. My college roommate who lived in Silver Spring had offered to let me crash her house that summer because we missed each other after a year of grad school. And I Googled internships in Silver Spring. I would have worked anywhere, to be honest, but it like stars aligned. Yeah, I think two things that I've taken from water. One is just the sense of having such a encouraging presence in my life ever since. Mary has done an incredible job of just staying in touch with me, sending me articles, asking me how things are going, and that's really been meaningful to me. And I think on a deeper level, water is an institution or a group that has a really surprising level of just moral clarity. I think that you find a lot less sort of like hand wringing about how to exactly parse a situation, and a lot more willingness to just claim what you know to be right. And that's been very inspiring to me. And after water, I finished graduate school, and then and I got an MDiv and an MSW. And then I entered the Benedictine Sisters of Erie, where I have been blessed to find a lot of similar desire to engage in a meaningful way with real life and faith. So, and I just made final vows like 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, which was really, yeah, amazing. So that's me.
Well, it's a great you. And for those of you who are not in the Catholic tradition, you might have heard the name Joan Chittister. She's a fairly well-known writer and so forth, and a religious leader. And Jacqueline Small is in the same community as Joan Chittister, or I should say now, as we say in the business, Joan Chittister is in the same community with Jackie Small.
I
And
am in the same building as Joan Chittister.
well, Joan Chittister is one of the great women of our time, and so are you, Jackie. And I'm just so thrilled that you're all connected to water. Claire Francie, speaking of the greats, just unmute Claire Francie.
Sorry, I'm in my Fed office here at Treasury. I'm Claire Francie, the Reverend Claire Francie Cromer Sowers. I'm an associate minister at Metropolitan, and I came to Water in academic year of 2021 to 22. No, excuse me, 11 to 12. I also am, I've been the clergy partner for 3 different water interns since coming to Water, and that's been a blessing. And and even saw the day on Facebook where her Rouge Kosh just got her elders orders there out there in Kansas area. So I'm really excited to see about that. And then Tashika's on the line too. So what has water done for me? Oh my God, water has opened me up so much. It's informed my women's theology. I've gotten an opportunity to learn so much about social justice work. And water is like, we want to say this is like the mafia. Once you're in, you never get out. And so I'm excited about that. I have my MDiv, and I also went back and got my clinical mental health counseling degree, and now I'm working on my DMin. So at Wesley, which I'm in the writing phase right now. So um, you're a constant learner here at Water, and you meet so many different women who's doing the same kind of work all over the world. So it's really, really inspired me to keep going. When I went to Water, I did my immersion I did a Gullah Geechee immersion there in South Carolina, and had an opportunity to meet Reverend Dr. Clementi before the massacre there at Mother Emanuel. And so that was very, very impactful. Um, for me, that experience to meet them, but also to know that, as one of the things my niece asked me was, Auntie, don't stop doing ministry because of what had happened. And so sometimes, us being, liberators and stuff like that, we may have to put our life on the line, but it's for a good cause. And so I am just glad to be among the company of so many courageous women who have the love of people and the other, so that we can carry out the mission that whatever, God has put in our heart. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire Francie. And you're never getting out. Don't even think about it. Don't even think about it. And I think of you every day down there at Treasury, and God help you. Literally, God help you what's going on with the government. But before we go on with Wendy, I want to ask Annabeth, since you have to leave a little early, would you like to be next just because you have to leave and I don't want to miss you? And then Wendy, will you pick up?
Oh,
Thanks.
that's so kind. Thank you. Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Annabeth Reshley. I also go by AB. I was at Water from 2007 to 2009, coming through Mennonite Voluntary Service, and I was the first intern to come through MBS. Orchestrated that myself with the encouragement of people like Cindy Lapp, which was amazing at the time because there is and was a lot of anti-queer violence happening in the Mennonite church. So it was really kind of still amazing to me that I was able to come through a Mennonite program. Yeah, my my career has taken a lot of twists and turns since being at Water, largely at the intersections of trauma healing and queer theology and liberatory justice and activism. And I'm doing that currently in the container of an organization called the Brethren Mennonite Council for LGBT Interests, which I direct. BMC is turning 50 next year. And yeah, when I think about the touchstones from Water kind of throughout my threads of work and ministry, it's how hospitality and relationality are critical to the work and labor that we do together. Water was an early model of that. They're around that table. And I also think of events like the 2009 convening of the Feminist Liberation Theologians Network that we had in DC. And I also, yeah, I draw on Water as an early model for me of activism, not just as the church or as a faith tradition, but upon the church. And that's definitely something that I've lived into as an agitator in the Mennonite tradition for over 15 years now. So much gratitude, and it's really great to be with this powerhouse of a Zoom call.
Yeah. I think the Zoom's going to just Zoom at this point for everybody who's on this. But Annabeth, your work is just so extraordinarily important, and what you're doing, especially around queer issues. And we have always been supportive of people across the spectrum, and even before we knew what we were talking about. And it's so wonderful to have non-binary people among us, and to have gender fluid people among us, and to be a place where people of all sexes, genders, identities, races, religious traditions can feel themselves welcome through the hospitality and relationality that you talk about. And I think what you're doing in your own work is simply extending that yet one more place, and that's another commonality here. Wendy will be next.
Yes, it's so wonderful to be here, and I'll keep my comments as brief as I can. I was here in the 2012-2013 academic year, and I'm so grateful to so many of you on this call who I talked to before I applied to get a sense of what Water was, and it really helped really show me what Water was about this kind of sense of feminist community and practices, and the importance of kind of the persistence of activism over the years, just necessary in the face of all forms of kind of social oppression, the kind of persistence that feminists have been engaging in for decades and decades is truly remarkable. And I got to see that in so many different ways at Water through the kind of programming and kind of relationships built there. I think that's left the kind of deepest impression on me. And living out similar experiences, values since then, I went on to divinity school and got my PhD, and I now teach at the University of Oklahoma, where it can be thrilling and difficult to introduce feminism to students. But really, I'm just really inspired by the kind of different histories of the different ways, right, feminists have engaged womanist mujerista, that I can show students that something that might stand out to them, that they otherwise might find kind of confrontational, but to begin that process, because I wouldn't have come here without people pushing me at Water and before. So just, yeah, that's what I think about.
Thanks. And Wendy has a new book on the fire and has just finished a year. She's being very modest about things, but a year at Harvard Divinity School as part of the research program there and teaching program, and now going back to Oklahoma for whatever's next, but with a book on the fire, and especially an expert on Andrea Dworkin, whose work is historically important, but also very, very contemporary. Annalie, and then we'll go to Sophie, and then or somebody else. Go ahead, Annalie, and then Sophie.
Yeah, I'm Annalie North Martin. I came to Water 2020 to 2021, which is a fascinating year to be at Water through Mennonite voluntary service. Kind of witnessed the shift of Water programs onto Zoom. And so I think that's a lot of what played into how I've seen, I mean, everybody's talked about community and absolutely, but witnessing how it can be global virtually as well, and like just really actually being quite successful at connecting people through the programs via Zoom, and honestly like increasing that connection. It felt like rather than, I don't know, like conference calls and that kind of thing. And I still help with water rituals monthly. And so being able to stay connected with the wonderful people that are there every month, and just like keeping those friendships going. And especially I think after, I mean, 2020 was an interesting time to graduate from college and feeling like burnt out of academia, but also like not feeling fully fulfilled, and watching Water really put academia into action, it felt like, or like those principles that I'd been learning about through or like social justice awareness that I had been growing in college, being able to then like seeing that still in action with like still a kind of academic mindset, or really being grounded in the amazing theologians and thinkers, feminist thinkers of the past, so, and future, and current. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, it was great.
And Diane simply can't do the liturgies without you, Annalise. So having you part of that is just a boon for everybody.
I guess so.
Wonderful. Great to see you. Sophie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sophie. So I grew up in Silver Spring, and I was at Water 2006, and I believe also 2007. So I was working with Katie and with AB, and I'm so lucky to know them. And I was majoring in religious studies and women's studies at the time, so it was the perfect place for me. Like others have said, I really love the way Water has brought people together and formed a sense of community with all different types of people, but specifically those who identify as women or those who identify as non-binary, and want to be part of that space. And while my career has not led in a specifically religious or feminist trajectory, I still really hold those values dear. And AB and I actually started something called Sing for Your Supper. So we would bring people together, and I'll sing or perform something and cook for them. So that's really important to me. And also, I'm now an artist, so that's like a big part of my life at the moment. And I just really love bringing people together and sharing my practice and learning from people and all that kind of stuff. And the other thing that I will mention that I'm really grateful for from my time at Water was the feminist conference was here in DC. And so I got to be part of that and be in the same room as people like Judith Plaskow, which was just like mind blowing.
Sophie, great to see you. And I don't look at the table that I don't see your mother, your late mother, sitting there with her hat on, if you remember. I have a great memory of her being here. I also want to tell a very quick story about that feminist conference. We can talk about it another time, but we were recently, Wed and Magdalena and Min and I were recently at that center. Do you remember that that center was a Hogwarts looking, it was the College of Preachers at the Washington Cathedral. It was a Hogwarts looking Gothic building, absolutely inaccessible to people in wheelchairs. And one of our guests that week, it was a full week, was the Rabbi Dr. Julia Watts-Belzer, who is one of the leading disability theologians and leading lights in feminist queer work. Needless to say, we made quite a fuss about the fact that the building was not accessible. It closed shortly thereafter. The entire building closed shortly thereafter. It was moribund and empty for 10 years. And about 7 years ago, one of the people from the Mars candy fortune got interested, put up about 17 to 20 million dollars to renovate it, and it is now the Virginia May Center. We were there last week for the presentation of an award to Bishop Buddy by the Catholic group Dignity, which will be announced next month, but we were there in the audience. And the building is now fully accessible, gorgeous, and probably more expensive than any of us could afford at this point. But they will be having new programs there. And I've been in touch with Julia. I've sent her pictures. And it was because Julia could not get up those 3 steps to the dining room. And they've put an elevator right next to the dining room for those of you who were at that meeting. So there's also other elevators in the building, and it is beautiful, and they've done a great job. And, you know, what $50 million won't do. So but we had a little hand in that by pushing hard. And one of the people in the program, Devora, that some of you might remember, was an expert on disability, wrote a full study for them and said, this is what you need to do. And so anyway, just a small water footnote from last week. Brooke Andrews, go right ahead.
Yeah, I'll keep mine short as well because I was an intern from 2023 up until October of last year. So I don't have much retrospective to talk about yet, but I will say my deepest impression here was like being the first internship and like kind of an office job, which is obviously so unusual and so unlike any typical office job, is like the ability to really harmonize mission and good work with like your professional life and career. And it really inspired me to like move on into other places where I can feel like I am doing good for the world and can make a living off of that. So it's just really great to see that there are places that like offer those kind of opportunities to really be a progressive and be a change maker. So I really have to thank Mary and Diane for that. And of course, they were more than just bosses for me. They're like personal mentors as well. So yeah, just water is so special in its way to really take a boring office job and make it something really personal and special that, of course, back to the mafia theme, will keep you in it forever. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Brooke. And you know, it's like your school. Once a Holy Cross girl, always a Holy
Always.
Cross girl.
Yeah.
And but really and truly, it's great to know that you're working in philanthropy now, which is working progressive philanthropy, and that's an important area. We
Mhm.
need to hear from a couple more people, and then I want to have time for small groups because we really want your absolute bottom line best ideas for what we do next. So Cindy can go next, and then if anybody else, others may not want to, but Kate, Maria, anybody else who wants to is welcome to.
It's great to see you all. I was at Water, came in the fall of '94 for an independent study with Diane on ritual because Wesley Theological Seminary, where I was a student, didn't have what I wanted. And somebody said, you should go to Water. And then I was sitting at a desk and Mary said, that desk looks good on you. Why don't you do an internship here? So then I ended up being here for 6 or 7 years as staff. And as Mary said, I had a couple kids while I was here and they let my kids come to work with me. And so that I think has really formed me as a mother and as somebody who thought that to kind of try the impossible to bring your kid to work every day was it. Now I don't know how in the world that ever happened, but it was because I wasn't doing it alone. Mary and Diane and Grandma Carol were here to help take care of the kids too. And there was only one at a time. I didn't bring all of my children at the same time. I am now a pastor at a Mennonite church, which I don't think I would have been able to push through the horrible roadblocks unless I had been working at Water during that time. Mary and Diane really supported me, and I think I learned um, as AB said, sort of agitation in the church as institution, and how to do that and not do it alone, but to really work in collaboration with other people, so that institutions can change. I think the Mennonite church is smaller and it's changed more quickly than the Catholic Church, unfortunately, but I'll keep pushing anyway. I forget the last question. I think I feel like my real seminary education happened at Water, not so much at the seminary, but at Water, the day in and day out, working to collaborate. And I agree with AB that seeing hospitality and what yeah, the building relationships through hospitality, I think just really stuck with me. As part of, I think that's essential in my own congregation's life right now. So
Great, Cindy. And you'll notice that we took inspiration from you and then had a child. So go ahead, Em.
Thanks. Such a delight to be here. I'm Em. I was an intern in the summer of 2011. I was in, oh, sorry for the dog barking, pet sitting. I was interning during my seminary experience in Texas at a Presbyterian school, and so many things stuck with me, but I'm thinking especially about how much it meant to me at the time to be immersed in a feminist community where the theology and the theory and the practices were all integrated. And that was so different than what I was living day in and day out in Texas at the time. And so it was really not only nourishing, but deeply informative in terms of what's possible, what kind of community could be built based on feminist principles. And also, I remember Diane saying to me that I would make a good nonprofit director one day. And at the time, that was not something I was at all envisioning for my life. But I do now co-run an organization I co-founded called Infleshed. And we definitely try to do the same forms of integration, integrating feminist theory and practice in everything that we do. And especially with so much of what I learned at Water about like making sure the work stays true to the people. Trying to live it out together. So thank you.
Thank you. And you do a great job. Just a great job. Wonderful. Let's see, Kate Maria, Kate Stoltzfus.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So
Happily.
great to be here with all of you. Great to see some of you I haven't seen in a long time. I'm Kate, and I was a water intern in 2014 to 2015, also coming through Mennonite voluntary service, following in the great footsteps of Cindy and AB and other Mennonites before me. And also, yeah, it's been great to just hear the connection that's continued with Mennos after me as well. And so since Water, have done a lot of different things, but I'm currently, just to keep it short, in a graduate program for poetry, living in Arkansas right now, which brings with it, it's very different from living in DC. And I think one thing that really sticks out to me about my time at Water that I've just continued to carry with me through the years has been the incredible resources. Just like sitting in the Water library every day was so formative for me in terms of my understanding around social justice and feminist and queer issues. And Mary and Dan introduced me to so many thinkers that I'd never heard of that I like still recommend to people. Just the other day, I recommended The Sexual Politics of Meat to a friend who'd never read it. And I think just that like lineage of voices that like you're literally surrounded by in the office, and then also that you're in conversation with many of those people around the table. I think the other day I was talking to a friend and she was saying, there's a lot of questions right now about like, we're doing this work in poetry and, with everything going on in the world, like, it's not a replacement for activism. And so, like, kind of feeling discouraged around, like, what is its role in all of this? And my friend said it's not a substitute for the action, but poetry and writing in general reminds us that we have a world worth saving. And so I think just Miranda and bringing the community together to think out loud and also write into like imagining the spaces that we want to create. That's been such an incredible thing that regardless of what I'm working on, whether it's personal writing or working with others, that's just been such a through line for me. So thank you.
Hey, thank you. And the great work that you're doing, Kate, in poetry and also in your teaching, which is so tremendous to teach poetry to children. I think that's just so great. Let's see. Maria, if you'd like to say anything or not, you don't have to, but if you'd like to, you're welcome to. Or not. And yes, no? No? Okay. Magdalena and Wed, how about you? Would you like to talk, just to say very briefly, and then I want to give us just even 5 minutes in groups. I just want to get some sense. Yes, one of our people just came in handing along the work, handling the work things here at Water. I just got a credit card, so go ahead, Magdalena and Wed.
So I'm Magdalena. I'm currently at Water, interning at Water. So yeah, I think the greatest impression for me was just the community, as you all said, and the alliance, and just to get to talk to the people that we hear all these stories about and that we read all those books. Also I've met authors and just like Bishop Miriam Buddy. She knows my name. She shook my hand. That's just incredible to me. And I think Waters has inspired me to pursue my master's and just to take on justice work as, a part of my career. And that's what I will try to do. And I will get back to you guys if it works or not.
Yeah, starting in the fall in Ireland in a master's program, international studies and so forth. It's just great. Just yet another water person doing wonderful things. And Wed.
Yeah, I'm Wed, and I also have like 2 months left here, unfortunately. And I feel like the thing that I got most from water is just like the intergenerational exchange. Like people before us know like so much about the situation right now. Like if we like bring together all of these voices, no matter like how old, from where, it's just like such an enriching like environment to be in and to like thrive in and like see what I can take with me like in my future career. Yeah.
Yeah, and Wed will be heading back to both, as I mentioned earlier, both are from Germany. One Wed from the Bonn area and Magdalena from the Thuringia area, which is where our dear friends Herta Leichner, some of you will remember Herta Leichner, and Catherine Skeevy, who live nearby. And it turned out when Magdalena came to us, this is how water goes all over the world, that when Magdalena applied, we didn't know and she didn't know. And anyway, I figured out the town and the zip code. And it turns out that her grandfather, who is a minister, knew Herta Leichner, who's among our closest friends in Germany, a great pioneer in lesbian ministry and queer studies in Germany, and ran the Women's Center in Gelnhausen. And her partner, Catherine Skeevy, and Catherine was a classmate of Magdalena's father when he was in seminary. So totally unbeknownst to anybody or anything, these people, Magdalena comes to us from some of our dearest and closest and most admired friends in Germany. And Wed will go on back to the Bonn area, but in fact will be probably going to school either in Germany or in the Netherlands and starting her undergraduate degree shortly. So the water, just amazing, the skills that they bring. And we're talking about artificial intelligence and chat, etc., that I'm learning about. So yes, it is intergenerational, and we're all learning. Maria's microphone isn't working, so we're going to move right along. I would just beg your indulgence for even 10 minutes. It won't be more than 10 minutes to be in a small group with some of these people and to try to give us some really serious, good advice about what we do next as water. What are the needs that you see? And you can put stuff in the chat. You can send it to us, but talk to a couple of people and see if you can come up with some very concrete things. Where should we be going? These are very terrible times. And where should the resources of a community like this, of which you're all a part, and the richness of it is falling off the screen here. It's just so amazing. So 10 minutes, we'll be back. And yeah, let's have a wrap up. Thank you, everybody. If I don't know how your group was, but mine was really dull and boring, and I just wanted it to end. So maybe yours was better. No, I really was with Wendy and Maria and Claire Francie, and it was it was heaven. So comments, first of all, if everybody would just put something in the chat, just something in the chat that came out of your small group. Just let's take a minute. This is like Nancy Sylvester's minute of silence. Take a minute of silence, but put something in the chat that came out of it so that we'll have something, and then we'll open up the floor for a little bit of discussion. And then we want to be very respectful of your time and finish by 2:15 if we can, so Eastern time. Magdalena and Wed, you're having too good a time there. I don't know. I'm going to come next door. Thank you, everybody. Please continue to put what you want in the chat. And Magdalena, thank you for lifting up Margaret Gonzalez, who was with us in 2003-ish, is in India and was writing to us about her experience and had the idea of connecting with an Asian group that we're not connected with. So that's great. And I see other people putting into the chat other groups to connect with. I think that's great. There's always obviously some interest also in getting this group back together and maybe some others who would join us, because there is something special, very special. I'm just going to leave the floor or open the floor now for just a few minutes just to see if there are any comments that people really urgently want to make, which would be helpful to us. So please just raise your hand or just go ahead. And I know people have other commitments, so we will not go past 2:15, promise.
I guess I'll go.
Go.
So one thing that I thought about is, of course, you and Diane have been Reverend Claire Francie, Cromer Sowers, and others have been so instrumental in the mentorship capacity. So I mentioned something about maybe perhaps having a workshop for some others that may be interested in starting a nonprofit or starting some type of institution. I think that you all have so much expertise, and that would be great to have a mentorship workshop and extend it to others. Thank you.
That's a great idea. Yeah, yeah. We've never wanted to build an empire, but if there were people who wanted to build their own things, we've always said yes. We were helpful to the Pan Autumn group as they debated whether the Asian women's group, the Pan Autumn, they would develop themselves, and and I said, get a 501c3, do it, encourage it, and by golly, they just celebrated their 40th year. So that's a great example of a women's group that started small, and then it incorporated, it started, it did it its own way. And we don't want it to be like, we don't want it, we don't need more waters. We have one, but we did need Pan Autumn. We do need the Katie Cannon Center, which is in Richmond. We do need these things, and we certainly need something. Well, we need a lot of things. We need poetry. Kate's, we need poetry so badly. Yeah. Thanks, Tashika. Other people, go ahead.
I think in our small group, we were talking about, there's so many big needs in the world right now, but I think just that person-to-person connection that you can provide with all the resources that water has, whether that's like connecting people through like intergenerational partnerships or having people come and talk on specific issues or connecting with global organizations, something like that. So I think just that personal connection is really important.
Yeah, and we obviously continue to do that, and next month we're going to be meeting with Australian women. It'll be open to everybody, but with people in Australia. Some of you will remember the name of Patricia Horsley, who was a great benefactor to water, and a dear friend and colleague, passed away a couple of years ago, and left a bequest to water as well as to groups in Australia and so forth. They will be having a special little seminar. It'll be open to everybody next month to honor the memory of Patricia Horsley and to tell the great stories of her ways of, as a philanthropist, of supporting people. And then in the fall, one of our first programs, I just want to bring to your attention so you know it, one of our first programs will be Public Theology and Violent Rhetoric Examined in a Queer Womanist Critical Ethnography. And this is by a person I like very, very much, Reverend Dr. Teresa Smallwood, who's up in Pennsylvania at the Lutheran Seminary. But this is Public Theology, Violent Rhetoric, Examined in a Queer Womanist Critical Ethnography. That's the kind of thing that nobody else, a lot of people are not doing, and we need to be doing that. That needs to be done. We need to do it. It's a great book. So just to say, yes, that's in the pipeline. Other ideas, please go ahead. Em, we should be contacting you and be more connected with your Enfleshed program. That I realize. Yeah. Yeah. And also with many of these programs like the Mennonite program and the Loretto program having basically gone out of business or gone into a different articulation of what they're doing, we need to be thinking about other ways to connect with people who are interested in this, because a sustained period here helps too. I mean, Wed and Magdalena are having way too much fun that no one has a right to have that much fun. But it's really great, and you have to structure that fun. You have to structure that opportunity for people to grow like that. Jackie, you have a good program happening at Erie. Do you want to say a word about that?
Well, I don't have a lot to say about it because it starts on Sunday. So but we are starting a program that we hope will go, into perpetuity, where we will have cohorts of, at this point, young women, probably would be open to non-binary people, probably not open to men, living at the monastery for a year as like a cohort-based group and doing a lot of just work within our ministries and in the community, and also having a monastic immersion experience. So we want it to be a time of personal spiritual development, as well as an experience of living with people who are living the monastic life. So we've got 3 young women coming on Sunday to live with us for a year. So wish us luck.
How exciting is that? I mean, that, talk about a niche market. But I think maybe Wed and Magdalena will go for the last, for like the month of August. We could send them to Erie.
Wow, you are all just.
Would that be fun? But just, I mean, a monastic immersion. How fun is that? With no strings attached. They don't want you to be a monastic for the rest of your life. But sounds good, doesn't it, Wendy? Wouldn't you like to be a Claire Francie sign up? Yeah, I think. Yeah, you could get a few takers here, I think. But what a great experience. And nobody's ever done that before, where you just go for a year and hang out with no agenda, with a peace-seeking feminist group. And of course you would have non-binary people, and of course you would have queer people. I mean, it'll be wonderful.
Yes.
It'll be great. It'll be great. And we also, Water is co-sponsoring a group in November, which Jackie will be attending, a meeting 3 days at a Lutheran conference center with a hot tub and a swimming pool in Minnesota, where we're going to the Women Church Convergence, of which Water has long been a part, will be looking to renew its own commitments through the work of young people. So we're going to give money and time in this particular weekend to a group of now about 20 invited young people who are doing this work, and say, look, how can we help? And so that's really the attitude that I think people of my generation are taking, is how can we help? How can we be a springboard? How can we help with resources? How can we help with expertise? And you do it your way. And I think that's really kind of the model. So Anybody else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just the word lineage keeps coming to mind, and I feel so grateful for the ways that my time at Water rooted me in lineage, and not just like as an individual trying to think of myself as a feminist in the world. And I see so much of that because there's not a lot of opportunities to root in lineage. And so I don't know what the thing is, but I know that I want to see more people given that opportunity to root into that, especially in this moment. So that resistance doesn't feel new to folks. There's a lineage to be a part of. It feels so important.
That's a very helpful insight. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even here, Monica was first, Cindy was second. You find your place. It's like going to a family reunion and you sort of find where you fit, and then you find, well, oh, that generation's died off, and I'm coming along. But it's important to know. Monica, let's give you the last word since you were the first, and then we'll close out.
Oh, thank you. One thing we talked about in our group too was that Sophie referred to was, these layers below the political, and just this generating joy and being able to laugh because it's so depressing, everything we're going through, and it can really sap our energy, sap our hope. So just to create spaces that are like this, maybe not with an expert speaker, but just ways to connect more deeply and laugh and enjoy each other's company.
I'm all about it. I'm all about it. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the problem when you're not together, you do have experiences together, even just going up to get our Royco ice cream. I mean, there are experiences that you have together that make a difference, that bond in ways, but we'll replicate them as best we can. I want to thank you again, and I can't thank you enough. And I certainly know I speak on behalf of Diane as well. Excuse me, for being a part of this first water conversation on the future work and configuration of water. It has been nothing but helpful. We will download the chat. We'll send you some background on it as well. And anything that occurs to you afterwards, please reach out to us, reach out to the interns, to Wed and Magdalena, and to me with more ideas. We welcome your thoughts. We need them. We're asking, we're begging. This is like the begging moment. And we'll keep you posted on what's next. Every good wish in the meantime, and all strength to you, and all solidarity and resistance, all creativity and nurture. That's what I'm offering. Good wishes, strength, for solidarity and resistance, for creativity and nurture. And it's all about what we do here and what you do in the many places where you do it. And you enhance us, you make us much more than we are. And it is so exciting to see. So thank you again. And we will be in touch. Don't worry. So it's open if anybody wants to hang out a little bit. Otherwise, I know lots of people have things to do, but thank you for this time. It's been invaluable and really helps us. Bye-bye now.